What is a day like in the life of a SAFe Scrum Master, or what do you do as a SAFe Scrum Master? Hello, welcome to the Safe Chat Room with Dr. Francis Imbunya. Happy Monday, happy new week. It is a great week and another week to win. And I'm always super excited to come up with and just share with you some of those simple tips that is going to make your agile journey very easy. So before we roll over to the day, a couple of ground rules. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We are bringing you fresh content, simple, and keeping it very low so that you can understand and have the basics of what you need to do as a Scrum Master, as a SAFe Scrum Master. And today we're going to be talking about a SAFe Scrum Master and why SAFe Scrum it's the way to go, because it also covers Scrum, right? Then I'm also going to be answering the question, should you do Scrum and SAFe Scrum, or should you just do SAFe Scrum Master? I'm going to get into that question. And for those who are interested in taking a SAFe certification, we are having our SAFe certification training class this evening. Is going to be from 5 p.m. to about 8:30 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Thursday. If that fit in your schedule, shoot me a text that I want to get into the class of today, and definitely you're going to have a discount get into the session of today. Okay, perfect. But apart from that, every other 2 weeks we run SAFe training for SAFe Scrum Master strictly. All right, now let's get to the deal of the day. What is your day as a SAFe Scrum Master? Now, when we talk about SAFe Scrum Master, the first thing that distinguishes SAFe from Scrum is the PI planning, program planning increment. So if I'm asked what is your day as a SAFe Scrum Master, the difference I'm going to create between the day in the life of a Scrum Master and a day in the life of a SAFe Scrum Master is that I'm going to start from the PI planning. So my day as a SAFe Scrum Master start when we launch the PI planning. The PI planning is the heartbeat of SAFe, and the PI planning program increment planning is a 2 days event that brings together everyone in the Agile release train to plan the work that we're going to complete for the PI cycle. Now, one of the things you want to understand about the SAFe Scrum Master is that there are two cycles. We have the PI cycles that can be either 4 to 6 iteration, which is about 8 to 12 weeks, and then the normal iteration cycle, or what you call in Scrum Sprint, which are the 2 week cycle. So in SAFe, the advantage is that we have the bigger PI planning cycle, and in there we do the normal Scrum. So if you're learning SAFe, you're having a double impact. You're learning how to assist in program planning, and also you're learning how to facilitate all the Scrum events, and even more deeper. So what exactly do we do, or what exactly is your role as a Scrum Master in PI planning? Now, PI planning is a 2 days event, and it agenda is very straight. It starts with the executive giving us all the business context of what the business has been, where the business has been, more of the value of the business we are in, and kind of zooming into a bigger picture where we want to go. And then we have the product management that comes after the executive. That's the first day in the 2 days, and give us more of the product vision, what we are building, and why we are building it, and then give us some of the futures we are going to kind of build within the next ideally 10 weeks, which is about 5 iteration. Most environment adopt a 10-week cycle for a PI planning, right? And give us the most often they advocate for top 10 features, but it doesn't mean that it can go beyond top 10 features. And after that, we have the architecture engineer that comes up and gives us more of the technical aspect on the type of system we're going to build, and kind of more of technical construction. And after that, now we have the release train engineer that comes and gives us how we're going to facilitate the rest of the day, the breakout session, and every other stuff. And that is at the point where your role as a Scrum Master come in, breakout room 1. So the typical role of a Scrum Master in PI planning comes at 2 main positions: breakout room 1, or breakout session 1 in day 1, and breakout session 2 in day 2. And what exactly are you doing in breakout session 1? Breakout session 1 is where all the Agile team kind of break out after the big futures from the program backlog, or after they've been assigned features from the program backlog, and then they go into their breakout session and they're planning it across the iteration, which means a future. Let me give a bit of example of what a future is about, right? A future, it's a higher level of a story which can be breaking down. So when you talk about futures, it can be breaking down, but a future should kind of be something that can be completed within a maximum of 12 weeks, right? That's why PI circle is a maximum of 12 weeks. If we cannot complete it within the maximum of 12 weeks, it can cut across. Probably we need to label it as capabilities. Capabilities are a bit higher. And if you can cut across several PI circle, probably we need to take it to epics. So we have epics, capability, futures, and story. Right. So when you ever hear about features, know that we are at the program level. When you hear about story, we are at the team level. Right. The way we hear about capabilities, we are at the solution level. If you hear about epics, we are at the portfolio level. All right. That's a bit of technicality in there. But then going back to your role as a Scrum Master in PI planning, your main role is during the breakout session where your team is planning, is breaking down the story into the backlog, into the team backlog, so creating story. So you as a Scrum Master, there are specific rules which you need to pay attention to. The first is that your team is actually maintaining the time box. Your team to maintain the time box, to make sure that they're not using so much time to plan a story, right? The goal is for them to focus on alignment rather than focus on detailing. Detailing should be done during iteration planning, which we're going to talk about in a bit. Now, also during the breakout room session, you're also facilitating dependency. Now, the reason why we have the PI planning is because there are several teams working on one product. So program planning help you now to be able to coordinate how collaboration is going to be across the different teams. So if your team is working, let's say we are working on an application, which is to, let me say you're building an app that's going to help the state of Washington, D.C. manage I'm going to use a very common example, manage their data collection of flu or flu infection during the summer period. Now, there can be a team that's working on how the data will be collected. There can be a team working on how the analysis will be done, both on the application. There can be a team working on how it's going to be stored. There can be a team working on different components of the same application, right? If you want to do something like that for a state, it's something very huge. So there are different components and there are different teams working on different components. But since this is all one application, there need to be collaboration. And that is why we talk about dependency across the different teams that are working within the SAFe environment. All right. Now, when we, so your main role as a Scrum Master, maintaining the time box, the second thing you're doing is that you're facilitating dependency across the different teams. If your team is working on maybe on the interface that will collect the data, and then you are collaborating with another team that is going to be working maybe on the analytical part of the application. Now, there should be a connection on how the data part of the application will be linked to the analysis part of the application, right? So if you're working on one of the aspects that need that coordination, now you need to match out when the team is starting, when they plan it in the iteration, and then that's going to help us to draw dependency when we're talking about the program board. Okay. Now, what you're also doing as a Scrum Master is that you're helping the team to manage their program board, okay? More of putting the stickers there and making sure that the dependency are kind of linked. Now, at the end of day one, what you do, you've come out with a draft of your program, which you're going to be completing within the next 5 iterations if we're working in the cycle of 10 weeks, right? Every other team, let's say there are 15 teams in the train, every other team has done the same. So what you're going to see is that you're going to see like 15 teams and you'll see all what they've planned to do within the next 10 weeks. And then because we've planned that, it's easy for us to make connection on the dependency and help us to clearly see how the entire program is going to be like and how dependency are going to be coordinated. All right. After day one, the draft program goes to the management. The management go in the evening, sit back, evaluate it, and now they have a more deeper and clearer understanding of what needs to be done. They come back in day two and they say, okay, based on what you guys planned yesterday, we need to do a couple of revisions. So they push it back to the team with all their suggestions. The team go back to breakout room two, and then they do kind of revision based on the scope. Look at what they can commit to, what they cannot commit to, and then the plan, come out with a final plan. But one of the things the team is also doing is that the team is trying to also list the risks that could potentially hinder them. Maybe one of the risks could be that there's so much dependency and the dependency is going to hinder the progress. So maybe we can shift around a couple of stuff to reduce the dependency and other stuff. So while you're in the breakout room, you list out, write out every possible risk that can hinder your team from moving ahead. So at the end of our breakout room session 2, which is day 2, they also kind of do what? Analyze the risks and see which one we can accept, which one we can resolve, which one we can mitigate, and which one we can just like, okay, you know what? We're going to deal with it when it comes. So that is day 2. And now, after we have revised the plan, which is breakout session 2 in day 2, now the program is presented to the entire train, and then we do a vote of confidence, which simply means, okay, I think based on what we have planned, we can do it, we cannot do it. And vote of confidence is done with a fist of 5. 5 means I'm confident, 4 means, okay, high confident, 3 means confident, 2 means low confident, 1 means not that, and fifth of this simply means I got no idea about what you guys are talking about, right? And if it passes the vote of confidence, it needs to be above 3 to pass the vote of confidence that we can proceed with, we can adopt the PI program and then proceed with the rest of the PI cycle. Now, if you pass that, then we all do a vote of, if they pass the vote of confidence, at the end we do a retrospective. Retrospective to close the program. Retrospective is not going to be like a retrospective you're doing during your iteration. So when the PI is over, which the 2 days is over, what is happening after that? Now, if we're working in a PI cycle of 10 weeks, it means the team has to do 5 iterations, which is like 5 sprints. And this is where the Scrum aspect comes in. Within the iteration, the team is doing planning, iteration planning, daily stand-up, iteration review, iteration retrospective, and backlog grouping. Within every 2 weeks, the team has to make sure that they complete all of those cycles, right? So you see, all the events, the difference between between Scrum and SAFe is that instead of the event to be called sprint planning, they call iteration planning. Daily Scrum, they call daily stand-up. Backlog grooming and backlog refinement, almost the same thing. Then spring review, spring iteration review, spring retrospective, iteration retrospective, but the same thing is being done. Now, another bigger difference, not really bigger, slightly bigger, which is kind of a bit deeper in SAFe, is what we call the capacity planning in SAFe kind of go more deeper. You need to do your capacity planning during the PI planning, and you need to estimate the work across 6 different or 5 different iterations, which you need now to use the capacity planning sheet in order to do that. In most Scrum environment, the capacity planning is just like a very simple process without a lot of complication on bringing in a worksheet and all of that. Okay, another major difference is that within the PI planning, you have a lot of dependency meetings, you have a sprint planning meeting, you have system demos, at the end of every iteration, and it's a bit busy within the SAFe environment. Okay, so during the iteration, you now perform your normal Scrum meeting, and then you also have the Scrum of Scrum you're attending to regularly, right? Now, I think some of the questions you might want to ask is that, what is the frequency of the Scrum of Scrum? It depends on the environment. It depends on also the level of dependency the team is having. If the level of dependency is very high, we can have Scrum of Scrum twice a week. If they're not so much high, we can decide to have Scrum of Scrum once a week, right? It just varies per the different environment. All right, I think I was in higher level kind of description. What I'm planning to do in the days ahead will be actually to look at how we can teach in a very non-technical way some of these events, so that when you go do your long planning with a lot of technicality, you can kind of plug in, and maybe within the space of an hour, you can be able to navigate through all the events with no technicality. But let's throw it out for today. I wish you a very happy week. And remember, for those who need coaching, check out the link below this video. You're going to see how we can help you